I'm going to briefly talk about some intangible time and energy vampires. Now, normally when you think about time and energy vampires, and by the way, then I'm going to link these time and energy vampires into persuasion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a particular set of time and energy vampire that's very, very important and how you're being persuaded to consume said time and energy vampire, or TEV. I'm going to do more videos, I think, and podcasts on TEVs and how they relate to persuasion in the future. But for now, we're just going to be talking about this one time and energy vampire. But just to rattle off a few examples of time and energy vampires that are intangible and non-human. That is, we're talking about people here. We're talking about items and processes and things around you. Here's what I mean. Here are some examples of intangible time and energy vampires. And yes, as you can probably surmise, if you're watching this, I'm keeping a list because I'm looking away from the camera. All right. The news media, politics, religion, court cases and other bureaucratic processes imposed on you by the government and local authorities, drugs and alcohol, gambling, computer and video games, and overeating. Those are different examples of time and energy vampires, intangible time and energy vampires. And in this particular subset, I'm going to be discussing a little bit about alcohol. Because alcohol can really be a very, very nasty time and energy vampire. We all know about that. I mean, I don't even need to begin to describe to you all the net negatives there are with respect to alcohol. People drink themselves to death. People drive drunk. People drink too much and start fighting. Maybe they start beating their own kids. People gradually get fatty liver and other diseases, and I don't know. Well, I really don't know because I'm fortunate enough not to come from a background where alcohol was a large part of everyday life. So I really don't know what alcoholic abuse looks like. I've just heard horror stories from others. So everything that I'm saying here is really secondhand information passed on to me by others. So I guess I was really just very, very smart in that regard. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the ways that people are persuading you to drink alcohol. And by the way, I should preface this with that if you're from a certain part of the world, where I'm from, Northern Europe, and largely Western Europe as well, perhaps even the Western Hemisphere, Western Europe, North America, and so on, you sort of like have a similar mindset when it comes to alcohol. If you're from an Eastern culture, Middle Eastern or African culture, maybe these are unknown items to you. And in that regard, well, I can't speak to your experience. Maybe it's sort of like maybe it doesn't rhyme very well with what you've experienced, but whatever. I'm largely addressing myself to an audience in the Western Hemisphere who come from the same culture as I do. So with that being said, let's just go through a few examples. You know, when you're out with friends and colleagues, you know, you're out, you're going for drinks or you're going for dinner and so on, and menu arrives on the table and the waitress or waiter asks you, what do you want for drinks, or what do you want to drink? Nearly everyone, it is kind of inherently expected because of the context and the social understanding that you're supposed to grab beer or wine or some such. People look at me weirdly, even to this very day, when I say I want a Diet Coke or Coke Zero or sparkling water. That's it. They're like, what? You're not having a drink? You're not drinking alcohol? Are you religious? Or some such. I've heard that plenty of times. And yes, I am actually religious, believe it or not. But my what what's the word I'm looking for here? My adversity towards alcohol, or my alcohol resistance, my refusal to drink alcohol, has nothing to do with my personal faith. Because in my personal faith, you can actually consume alcohol. Guess who made water? Guess who turned water into wine? Good old Jesus did. So that's pretty much self-explanatory. But anyway, me personally, alcohol, I don't like the taste of alcohol. There's no alcoholic drinks that I like. Maybe if you mix them up with some sugary stuff, I can consume it. But even then, just the taste of alcohol and how nauseous it's making me feel, and just the horrible taste and everything, it's just disgusting. It's revolting. So I'm so happy I don't even like alcohol. And believe me, I went around for the longest amount of time and did my very best to like alcohol. And the reason for doing so was I felt the social pressure. The social pressure, the general understanding, the sentiment that everyone has to drink was a way to persuade me into trying to like alcohol. And I'm happy to say that this is actually kind of embarrassing to admit, but after 4 or 5 years of trying to drink alcohol and trying to like alcohol, I just decided to give it up. And believe me, I tried really everything. I tried regular beer, I tried spirits or booze, I tried wine, I tried drinks, I tried everything. And guess what? I still didn't like it. I still had to force myself to drink the crap. It was especially bad during my years as a student at university. And every single day I would wake up, or not every single day, but pretty much every single day I would wake up with the worst hangover in the world, and I would feel like killing myself. It was just horrible. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Alcohol is pure poison for your body. It's really not healthy at all. So if I don't even like the taste, if I know it's a poison, and if it also inconveniences me by making me sloppy, making me clouding my judgment, and making me unable to, for example, drive a car, then what's the point in drinking alcohol? It's just a large inconvenience. And that's the bigger persuasion tool that I'm using here on myself. Again, back to self-hypnosis. This is the vision, the consequences that I'm thinking of. Not the short-term consequences of being mocked and ridiculed and laughed at because, oh, aren't you drinking? Aren't you ordering alcohol? Ha ha ha. Well, guess who mocks you for not drinking alcohol? Those sorry losers who are weak, secured, and need someone to need someone to blame so that they can feel better because they feel so poor about themselves. That's precisely who those people are. It's kind of like the general understanding as well that if you're in school or if you're a student, I'm really not addressing this podcast to students or high school students or whatever, but if you're like in your mid-20s and younger, then there's always going to be some alcohol involved whenever you're going to a social setting, whether it be a party, a dinner, an event, whatever. And it is expected that you drink, and it is expected that you sort of like pretend that it's cool to drink. Again, these are the intangible TEVs, the intangible time and energy vampires, these precise residual and inherent understandings that you're supposed to drink because you have to drink because it's part of our culture. But it doesn't need to be part of our it doesn't need to be part of our culture. It needs to be part of your will that you want to drink. Do you understand how important that is? I keep getting on and on. I keep going on and on about this because I really dislike, when I think about all the mistakes I made, all the hours I wasted drinking alcohol, all the money I must have wasted drinking alcohol, and all the things I could have done instead if I were sober, then I'm getting pissed off. I guess that's why this makes me emotional, but whatever. I really lost my train of thoughts again. Whatever, I hate it when that happens. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Here's what matters: alcohol and alcohol abuse and alcohol drinking is a net negative for your life. I'm very, very biased, obviously. So, full disclosure, I'm the most biased person there is when it comes to discussing alcohol and alcoholic ways, or alcoholic, what's the word I'm looking for? Alcoholic customs. Anyway, when it comes to persuasion, the biggest tool you have is your own vision and not the disparaging and snarky comments made by other people. Think about that and think long and hard about it. If you want to learn more about persuasion, then get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is below the episode description, wherever you are watching and or listening to this, and I'll see you there.